Welcome everyone to the Tough Love Arena State of the Game stream. As always, I am your host, M. Paul Weeks, and I'll be telling you all about the state of the Tough Love Arena. What has been going on recently, what's going on now, what do you, as our lovely audience, have to look forward to. So, jumping right in, we have something new to show for arcade mode, a little update video. So, shout outs to Clem for putting that together pretty last minute. I will not elaborate further. So, arcade mode development continues. I will no longer give estimates. Hold on to your butts. But it continues. And exciting announcements. There will be a community April Fool's tournament on April 10th. As always, it will replace the TLG that happens on Friday night and the previous week's TLG on April 3rd. Right after the event, the modded characters will become available. So everyone has a week to practice with them before the bracket. There is a challenge up now if you want to register. We'll give out the usual skins and everything. Although it is the community tournament, this is a major and has all the benefits and premium accounts associated with a major. And when I say community tournament, the characters will not be in the game this time. The plan is to have them hosted as just third-party mod files. We're trying this out as a more sort of like long-term sustainable way to do these things. So there might be some bumps along the road, but I'm excited to try this out so that you all can continue to organize and run similar events without requiring developer intervention. But I will be there on comms. Scramble Hard City update. Our next playtest is this Friday, March 20. So the big things to look forward to future-wise are we added back in casual queue after reworking it some, and we added the ability to queue from training mode, which I actually could and should demo briefly. We added push block guard cancel, which I can also demo and explain. But the bulk of our work has been on implementing Tyrant, and I'll show you a little bit of stuff with him. We're still keeping a lot of the sauce under wraps. And also, I spent a week at GDC. It was lovely. Maybe I can talk about that during Q&A. But just to reiterate, next playtest is March 20th, and the upcoming confirmed events that we are safe to announce are Combo Breaker on May 24th. We are, I will say, soft confirmed for a lot of events for the rest of the year, but I will not say their names until we get the okay from the organizers. So I guess let's check out all these new features. Matchmaking. Play online. Search, my name is Anonymous H. Anonymous Horse. You search for a match. You now have this little indicator at the top. Maybe we'll make it prettier. This is, first version. And you can stop searching, or you can customize your account, or you can go back and just navigate the menus. But for convenience, we also have this like jump straight to training. So I pick some characters in training, and the whole time it is still searching for a match and can matchmake you. If you change your mind while in training mode, there is a new option on the bottom of the pause menu, edit match search, which again takes you to a familiar looking sort of sub-menu, and you can stop the search. Likewise, if you start in training mode, you can, from training mode, search for match. And it's all the same experience. Customize account, very minor cosmetic features right now is the ability to type in your name, choose an icon, which is one of the characters. These are not visible outside of lobbies, but you'll have it. And this is also now where you choose your preferred stage. This is more visible when you are on the main menu. Let's stop searching. But it'll give you a preview. So this becomes your default stage, and random is whatever rolled random on app start. If you always want to play in a certain stage, you could do so. And if you just want to listen to a specific song, that option is over here. If you didn't know, you can just force one of these songs, and then it just plays that song forever, no matter what you're doing. But the default is set to contextual, essentially. Cool. Let's talk about push block guard cancel. Turn on the frame display, which now has numbers. They're very small. We're going to work on making them a little bit more legible, but the numbers are there. So, observe. Let's say I have my opponent just default block. And I do a sequence like this. Medium heavy. You'll notice that after they block the heavy, I am -1. They recover 1 frame before me. Push block guard cancel. It's a mechanic I've learned a lot about in the last 2 months. So when you push block, there we go. Eventually everyone will have a unique push block animation. She's the first one to have it. So when you push block, that puts you into a unique state that has a fixed amount of time. So block stun is normally very dependent on what you blocked. This, you're in block stun for 15. This, you're in block stun for 26, right? Which is a surprising number. I should vet that. But in general, yeah, somewhere between like 15 to 30 block stun. And the push block is always a fixed duration. But the new thing about push block is before, if I hit you again, because I'm doing a multi-hit block string, and you push block to the first move, when I hit you the second time, it would essentially just reset you back to blocking. And then you'd have 25 frames of block stun again. So push block did push them, but then you're back to blocking again. Push block guard cancel is the phenomenon such that when you push block, and you have committed to doing your 30 frame push block animation, or however long we make it, it sort of auto guards future attacks, but it doesn't actually block them. It feels more like an auto guard or like an armor. So I can still block attacks during that, right? I'm not getting hit by it, assuming I still am not messing up like high-low. But the important thing is it's not actually resetting my block stun, which means now we can look at a move like this. This is -3 on block or heavy punch. But if I was in push block, I would ignore its block stun. I would just be doing my push block animation. So that sequence normally, again, is -3 for my opponent. But if I push block the first hit, it is now -16. Because I started the push block, which is longer than most block stuns, but I committed to it on the first hit, and then I just ignored the second hit, and essentially finished early. That is push block guard cancel. And it gives you the ability to make things punishable that weren't designed that way, and also creates potential gaps in pressure. If you just want to defend, you can just hold back and you can keep push blocking, and it works exactly the same way it did a month ago. But it gives you opportunities for a barre in the middle of block strings that you didn't have before. So even though Gain keeps like zooming his way back in, maybe you can actually like challenge in the middle. Though it is also vulnerable to being thrown. So that's a punish, right? And the next demo. So his exact size relative to other characters is not final. He's meant to be a little bit smaller. We're ironing out some kinks that we discovered in our character sprite scaling. The vibe is still correct. He is definitely going to be our biggest character for the foreseeable future. I'll just show off a few of his tools that we've implemented so far. One is his command grab. So, and you notice he doesn't have a walk animation yet. Just sort of tilts back and forth. Here's a command grab that looks like that. Like Rosie's command grab, you could combo into it. What's unique about it is it sucks. In that it's good. It's good that it sucks. So you can do stuff like and pull them in. You can try and just pull them into an assist. If you want to do that. And then you can, follow up. Right now, you can like hold it for a little bit, or you can just bottom it out and hold it forever. The speed of the pulling and duration rules and all that stuff is still subject to change. But we know that roughly this is the functionality we want. And this will be an assist, yeah. There's other interesting things about it that I won't say because we still haven't fully vetted his new super secret mechanic. I have it working in engine, but I haven't had a chance to playtest it because he's still missing too much stuff. So that move can be even saucier, but I'll have to leave it there for now. And the other special move we implemented so far is this. A projectile that travels along the ground. It's sort of like a ground pound. This is nice because it gives him a way to convert off his absolutely insane stand heavy. Like that. And we're also experimenting with his crouch medium being this kind of like sway move. So you can sort of normal zone by doing like something like that. And I think that's it for now. So he's still missing a lot. He's got this messed up jump medium. We might have to change how this works. We are aiming to have him playable for the April playtest. Aiming to. He might be very rough. It might be a lot like Goth's first playtest, where she accidentally did too much damage and like half of her supers didn't work. But that is my goal, so that we can have a full playtest to iron out big issues before Combo Breaker. We can have a solid month to really polish him up before Combo Breaker. So the goal is to have him playable for April. And right now we've got some of his normals, some of his basic actions, but we're still missing a bunch. But we got it all planned out. Now it's just a matter of execution. We move on to the Q&A. Meep asks, how was the Pat the Flip local? It was great. Yes. So I was at GDC in San Francisco last week. I met up with Pat the Flip for lunch on Tuesday, and we had some nice burgers and just talked for a couple hours. After which he invited me to his local, which if you follow him on social, you'll see him posting about a bunch. And so I was very grateful to be invited. I swung by on my last night before I have to leave town. I actually ran into another indie game developer, the person, Justin, who makes Hyperfight 2. And we played some surprisingly close XR matches. That game is more fun than I remembered, considering I haven't played it in like 10 years. We had like a nice set for like an hour. Then everyone took a break to get some food. And then afterwards, Pat and another person there got some hands-on time with Scramble. I so rarely get an opportunity to talk with other fighting game developers, fighting game designers. So we talked. We talked about a lot of the design decisions that I'd made in this one and how that compares to other anime games or other versus games. It was a very fruitful conversation, and it was really interesting to see what he found novel and what he found interesting and what wasn't to his taste, but that's fine. We might actually do a follow-up conversation. I might answer some questions for him and we'll post them out. It was really nice. He was a very good host. I'm very grateful for his time. Good vibes. And everyone else at the local was super nice. Nothing but good things to say. Definitely a highlight of an already enjoyable week. Turbo asks, where's survey? If you're talking about the Scramble Heart survey, that won't come out until the playtest is over. If you're talking about the Tough Love survey, I stopped doing it, as you may have noticed, a month or two ago, because the response rate was just so low. And because I'm not doing active development on Tough Love right now. I'm merely shepherding arcade mode. I still want to have Q&As. I still want to have an opportunity to interface with the community and give answers, and anything that you would raise in the forum, you can raise here. But as like a large-scale snapshot, it wasn't useful when, I think the last time we did it, like 3 people filled it out. So it saves me time, saves you all time. Didn't feel appropriate at this point. But totally fair to ask. I never spoke on it explicitly. What's your opinion on Flappy Fighter / Santa Fighter? I haven't played Santa Fighter. Is it still up or was it a seasonal thing? Because if so, I'll totally check it out. I've spoken on video before, I'm pretty sure, because I remember watching myself say this, I think, about Flappy Fighter being really not influential, but inspiring in terms of like what I could accomplish with a touchscreen. What could be accomplished with a touchscreen and playing on mobile. Like Fantasy Strike and Flappy Fighter were both games I played a year before I started developing Tough Love Arena. I think there was like a gap. Granted, the Flappy Fighter that I played at the time, which I think got up to like, it was like one character on rotation. I think they had just gotten up to like the big grappler character and then they got DMCA'd to oblivion. It was very fun. It was a very fun phone game. It was very fun to lab and fight against the CPU, but I don't know if that gameplay style would have worked PvP. Maybe it could have. Maybe it could have been jarring with the fast movement. I don't know. But it was definitely interesting, and it gave me the confidence to try and do touch controls for Tough Love Arena. I don't know if it ever influenced like specific decisions, design decisions, beyond just, oh, we're going to do a touch screen game, we shouldn't have multiple button presses. It was interesting that one, and I think other mobile fighters, single player or multiplayer, like do the similar, like they don't have walking, right? It's like all dashing. That was an interesting thing about Flappy Fighter. Santa Fighter's up on iOS. Wonderful, I'll check it out. Yeah, I saw some clips on Twitter and I recognized it as, oh yeah, that's Flappy Fighter legal edition. But I'll have to try it. Kerbo asks, Paul, do you like your community? Where's this question coming from, Kerbo? I really like my community. I am immensely proud of and grateful for my community. I assume you mean like you all, not like my local community or my local FGC community, but like this community. Correct me if otherwise. Me and Amy both were so impressed and happy in the first year of Tough Love, both how like positive people were, how like the Discord naturally grew into this friendly social space that was very like queer friendly. I am immensely grateful, and I was so excited about making a second game because I was like, oh, I can drag the TLA community with me to the new game rather than having to start over again. Hopefully I can drag them because it's still in browser. I know I'm going to lose some people to, tag mechanics. I'm immensely pleased. There's been wonderful fan art. There's the wonderful engagement with the modding community, all these community ran tournaments and events. I met a dude at Frosty who was wearing a Tough Love Arena logo t-shirt and had the fully tricked out Rice hitbox. And as I think I spoke about in the last State of the Game, a couple of people were so invested in the game that they started making this community mod, which was Clem, Dab, and Kerbo. I mean, you're who asked the question, but that's why I tapped you all for making arcade mode. I remember very distinctly, we released this game January 1st, 2021, and in the first, month, there's all of these, huge new milestones, personal milestones of accomplishments, of, things that I would set as goals for my fighting game, just getting accomplished back to back. And this is mostly in terms of, player counts, social validation, this commentator, influencer, whatever that I've been following for 10 years, like my game, or getting interviewed or getting discussed in Castle Super Beast. I tried to orient myself such that I don't rely on external validation for the sake of my own sanity and well-being, but it was a sudden, very strong injection of it, and it was very motivating and encouraging. And then it sort of normalizes a bit. It's never not nice, but you have now achieved those goals. What's the next goal? And I think when we took our game to conventions for the first time, which was almost a year in, that felt like another big milestone. And when we had our first tournament on stream, which maybe the first one on stream was Combo Breaker? Probably. That was a big milestone. When I got a chance to give a talk on stage at EVO, as brief as it was, that was a milestone. And I had all these wonderful, novel, new experiences for a couple of years right after it launched. And then, development slowed down. I was busy with work, and then I was busy with Scramble Heart. We're not doing much new. And then suddenly Clem shows me the Salt and Pepper mod. And that was it made me realize I hadn't felt this way in 2 years, which was this suddenly new achievement that I didn't realize I had, which was beyond the mod tools that I give you all and beyond some crazy experiments that Meep has DM'd me about. Seeing people go above and beyond and engaging with my game that way. And it meant so much to me. Salt and Pepper mod was the name of the Chrome extension mod that Clove, Dab, and Kerbo were working on. It was this browser extension that injected code into Tough Love Arena to add more stuff before I then sniped them and scripted them into arcade mode. But just personally, my intro to programming was modding. My intro to programming was messing around with Halo 2 mods on my soft modded Xbox original, and it was creating custom characters in Little Fighter 2. And so having that come back to me 20 years later, 25 years later, I'm old. It was a wonderful experience. So I like my community, Kerbo. Yes, big shout outs to Hyperfight. Thought says nothing against Strive, but it made me like Xrd a lot more. They're very different. I like both. Churro says Strive makes me like Xrd more and Xrd makes me Strive more. What was I struggling with? There's some input I was struggling with. I always joked that I started with Xrd and my first main was Eno. And I know that in plus R, your special move, that's the big horizontal guitar strum thing, is super motion. It's just a special move, but you have to do the half circle back forward, which is my least favorite motion in all fighting games. And that alone was well, I guess I can't go back to plus R. I'm just XR forward because I'm not going to... That move is very satisfying to do. I need it on Tatsu. It needs to be as simple as Tatsu. It's cool for a super. It is insane for a special move. But I liked Xrd. And then when Strive came out, I learned to enjoy Eno on those new terms. She has different stuff. She's got the command grab super, which is kind of fun. But then Bridget came out, and I fell in love with Bridget. XR is where I play Ian, Strav is where I play Bridget, I guess. I don't play either of these games these days, but if I picked them back up. Thoughtbuster spill the tea, what he don't like. I will not speak to that. I will not put words in his mouth. Giant Impact says, so was the vibe of GDC people looking for collaboration and possible hiring or more so everyone is on their own thing? For those who don't know, GDC is the Game Developers Conference. It is a very industry-focused event, or it was until this year. I think they tried to rebrand to GDC Festival, and I think they're trying to both simplify the program and have broader appeal, because an industry event has a very capped growth. And I think they were also probably subsidized for a while by more corporate sponsors that have pulled out in recent years. Unreal would have a big space or something. But if you've been to a convention like PAX or a Comic-Con or anything else, it's a different vibe. It's a professional convention. So the expo hall, as it were, isn't where you can go play 30 FPS Elden Ring on Switch 2. It's where you can talk to a bunch of B2B salesmen trying to pitch you on how they can make your life easier making your game, because they can take care of marketing for you, right? There will be a few games, and there'll be like this award series, IGF, International Game Foundation Awards, that nominates like 20 or something indies every year. And so those will be like on the floor and playable in this big display that's really nice. And one of my friends' game was there and got nominated for Best Visuals, which was Skate Story. Very proud of him. But the expo hall is very corporate. It's very business oriented. And then the talks are very much into the minutia. I went to a talk last week that I enjoyed. It was this guy talking about his journey writing matchmaking for this 4v4 racing game. And it was exploring in depth, like, what are the problems you have with trying to like optimally match for 4 people. The first novel thing he pointed out that I thought was really interesting, and this doesn't apply to me because I'm only ever matchmaking 2 people. Thankfully, my job is a lot easier. But the observation that like matchmaking, it is not transitive. Just because A is a good match with B and B is a good match with C doesn't mean that A is a good match with C. For like a variety of different reasons. Locationally, MMR-wise, or even like user preferences, like no cross-platform. He showed a really interesting journey of how they had like a certain strategy of doing it, and then they changed it over the years. That was the talk. But what GDC also is it's the place once a year that a lot of game developers convene. So, in fact, there's a bit of a reputation, and I know a lot of people who don't buy a pass, because the pass has also historically been very expensive to see these talks, like up to $1,000. If you want to be able to see all the talks, they had like 5 different price tiers. It was very complicated. So I would have friends that would not even buy passes. They would just go to be in San Francisco that week. And there's a really nice outdoor garden like right next to the convention center called the Yerba Buena Gardens. And everyone just sort of hangs out there. And the week is really more about like, okay, what are the free events I can go to at night that local people are running or some industry is running that is free to enter? And isn't officially GDC, so I don't need a pass. Or can I just meet up with people, either old friends who are going to be in the area or new people that I can try and find? There is this insane website that I'll show just to give a sense of it. Wonderful website called GDC Parties. And this is all of the parties that were available last week. The different colors are different days. Now, to clarify, when we say party, they're not all ragers. It can be like a lunch meetup, but most of those are free. So there's lots of opportunities for meeting new people and just talking. And in my case, I met the Breakthrough devs, another indie fighting game, because I found out that they happened to be on the expo floor for a 2-hour block demoing their game as part of this Sacramento game developer collective. So I popped on down there, got to try Breakthrough, got to meet the devs and network a bit. And I don't like the word network, it's very corporate sounding, but just like befriend. I meet people, befriend them, add them to my Discord account, and then we can either talk about future events or we run into them again. And it's fun. It's fun. It makes sense for me because I go to have fun and just meet new people and see old people. But to answer Giant Impact's question, like the vibes are bad. People going there to like get a job, or people going there to like pitch to a publisher. Anecdotally, that seems way less successful than it was 5 years ago. So I am still happy to go, and I realized this during the trip, and I mentioned it to some of my friends. Like, that is my one vacation a year. Because I travel a lot, but I feel like I'm traveling every other month. But it will be for a convention like Combo Breaker where I am working the whole weekend. And it's very fun, and it's like I love to do it, but it's not restful. It's work. And I don't have that much control over my schedule. And a lot of good comes of it. Again, I don't want to in any way sound ungrateful or like I'm not having a good time. But it's not a vacation. It is a very fun work trip. And so to have this like week-long thing where I could sleep until noon and just miss some talks that I kind of wanted to go to, but I could choose to do that, was delightful. To have a week without meetings. I don't want to show this on stream, so let me just pull it up off stream. Today, let me do the math. 1, 2. Not as bad as I expected. I think I probably spent 3.5 hours today in meetings. I had 4 meetings today that added up to 3.5 hours. And that's usually every Tuesday. And then other days I'll spend anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours in meetings. And I have a game to make. So a week without meetings was also delightful. I ate a lot of candy. It was a 7-Eleven right next to my hotel. And I bought a lot of junk food. This is nothing compared to when I was a full-time manager at ZipRecruiter. And my entire day was just 6 hours of meetings. That job was just to be in a meeting for 6 hours a day. I guess I'm grateful for that experience, for hardening me. So the original question, what was the vibe of GDC? People looking for collaboration and possibly hiring, more so on their own thing. I think people were definitely looking for collaboration. People were looking to befriend and start new things. Oh, one other highlight I got to shout out. Speaking of the TLA community, I was just sitting in the gardens talking with Al, who is the developer on Cooking Fist, when a third person just walked by and recognized me as the Tuffle of Arena developer. Apparently, they were a member of the FGC Dev Discord, and so we talked with them for a minute, and they took a selfie that I guess I could pull up, because it's just in the FGC Dev Discord, which is not private to my knowledge. Yeah. I'm barely in the frame. I'm down there. So it was great. It was fun. It was a vacation. It was still work. It was work related, but it was a vacation. I got to do things that were fun and sleep a lot. It's experience thought. I've been doing this for like 4 years. Helps having 2 monitors for sure. So I can't say the vibes were great, but as someone who has only started coming to GDC once the vibes already went downhill, it feels good to me. I wasn't here for the heyday, but I'm talking to all my friends who have been going for 10 years, and they're in a mood. Turbo asks, when arcade mode comes out, will TLA end beta? Yes. The plan is arcade mode will come out. It'll have its initial release, essentially be in trial mode, as suddenly a bunch of people play it, and me and Clove are on hand for debugging stuff. And then I plan to... Oh, did I say Kerbo? I meant to say Kevin. Oh, yeah, Kevin Kryptonite. It's right. You're sandwiched by a bunch of Kerbo questions up in the chat. Yes, arcade mode's going to come out. We're going to test it, and then full release will be soon after, within a month. The plan is to, put it out, do a polish patch on the Steam, prep our communications, and then launch it with a sale and hopefully some kind of promo push. Joro says, it feels like a very good chunk of SHC community is actually just its own community, which is dope to see. Yes, I'm very happy to have as much TLA crossover, as it's always the number one source cited on our surveys of how did you learn about this game. But I'm also glad that there's new people in New Blood, and it's not just TLA 2. Joro says, dude, this entrepreneur stuff seems impossible. I want to be mindful of that, because I don't want to perpetuate the mind virus that is hustle culture. I think that there is, for better and worse, whether it's New York City or whether it's the Protestant work ethic or American exceptionalism or anything else, there's definitely this cultural assumption that productive has inherent merit. Purely cultural and not a truth of life. And it can often lead to fulfillment, but that same urge and that same cultural pressure can be weaponized to really exploit people and trick people into living pretty miserable lives, chasing rat race, etc. I want to make it explicitly clear, I do hustle a lot on my games, but I do it because it's play for me, because it's joyful, it's restorative, it's meaningful. And it can be all those things, and it can be stressful, and it can be exhausting. But I am not self-martyring by any degree. I try to be cognizant of when I do risk burning myself out a bit and then give myself a bit of time. And the dynamics change, and this is all relative. It's been more stressful in the last year as I've started hiring more people, and the team has been growing, and I have more meetings, and we have online playtests now once a month, which serve as both deadlines and just a weekend little ball of concentrated stress. But it is entirely self-imposed, and it's also on me to manage that and make sure I'm not needlessly burning myself out, right? I think that there a little bit of stress in terms of just there's a thing on my mind can for me be very personally motivating in the good way that otherwise I'll spend all day in bed watching YouTube. It's all about trying to find the sweet spot. I will not be shy about how much I work on these games because honestly, full disclosure, it's good for my brand. It's good for the perception of me as a potential future hire if I cultivate this brand of Paul the workaholic. But that is not my truth. I don't think that should be emulated, if that makes sense. I do it right now because it's what I want to do. If something else was higher priority, I would prioritize that. I cannot speak for people who hustle culture because they're determined to, get stacks of G's by drop shipping or whatever. I can't speak to that world. I cannot endorse that. But I love what I do. It's an immense privilege and pleasure to have the option to go to Combo Breaker and spend 3 days standing all day. Not everyone gets to do that, and I'm very grateful for it. And if I seem a little hustly, it's partially motivated by an anxiety to make the most of it, because I don't assume that this will last forever. This is what I'm doing now. These are 2020 to 2022. My life was Tough Love Arena. That was my entire life. Right? And then as that waned in just problems to solve, and as my own personal needs started to regrow, and I wanted to have a life outside of that, I rebalanced. 2024 and 2025 are looking to be the Scramble Hard City years. But who knows for the future? And hopefully I can balance these things better. Moving on with questions. Thought says, sad I won't be able to con you to breakers again if I go to Combo Breaker because I'll be busy. I can, if we're strategic, Thought we can make some time. I'm bringing out a bunch of team members for Combo Breaker. So this is the one convention, if any, that I can actually step away from the booth because I have more redundancy and I have other people that can cover for me. That said, I don't want to step away from the booth for too long because, for example, we worked one event at GDC. I did work one event, which was Monday night. It was Mix Spring Games Showcase. We were actually tabling right next to the Avatar fighting game, and I didn't have a chance to play it because we were all too busy. But this was at the end of a very long day. I was really jet lagged, and my leg hurt really bad for some reason. Maybe from just walking in hilly San Fran all day and not being used to those sorts of inclines. So I took a lot of breaks, and Alisa was able to cover for me. Bless their heart. But I learned after the fact that one of those breaks I was on, Seth Killian was at our booth. And I just missed him. So that induces massive FOMO and makes me never want to leave my booth. Because you never know who will stop by. Anyways, back to camera. Giant Impact says, despite not having anything concrete, it's probably still a good trip to make for those trying to pride themselves in the industry. I don't disagree. I don't know if it's if you're determined and you're not in a great place, I can't say it's the best use of your money for trying to get into the game industry. But I heard an observation that especially in the last 2 years and the proliferation of Chat GPT just really destroying resumes. This was in the context of hiring, applying for white collar jobs. And resumes are kind of meaningless now. And portals are just getting spammed. Recruiters are being deluged with all these automatically written cover letters and everything else. That it really reemphasizes it's that bad boomer advice of just go into the store and ask for a job. Actually, having a face does so much. And it's not because of any malicious nepotism. It's because if you're a recruiter and you have 10,000 emails or resumes, and then but you know one of them your coworker vouches for, you're going to start there because you need someplace to start, right? So definitely like getting FaceTime, getting names, having normal human interactions with people naturally builds your network and increases your chances of having more opportunities in the future. To that degree, I think GDC is definitely worth it if that's your objective. But I wouldn't go in with the assumption that because I shook a bunch of hands this week, I'll get a job. It's a multiplier on your odds, but not a guarantee. Joro says, is there any lore info you got in Tyrant? There is a lot of lore, actually. Right now, all of the lore is centered around Tyrant, Harmony, and Goth, and then kind of Book. And we're figuring out ways to shove Rosie, Gain, and Alistair into that story. But I'll leave it at that for now. Both because it's still in flux and because we're trying to plant little seeds of what the story is in the stages. Joro asks, recent talk in balance discussion, what do you think about throws and TLA at the moment? Someone had a sentiment that throws didn't incentivize the opponent to interact more on defense, which I found interesting. I have to unpack the sentence. Someone had the sentiment that throws didn't incentivize the opponent to interact more on defense. So that would suggest to me that throws are weak, so defense is easy, so why press? Is that correct? Am I understanding that? Yes. That is correct. That was an intentional design feature because one of my early things that I picked out of the hat of what are we going to do with this game that will make it more beginner friendly. Hot topic in Street Fighter 6 these days, but it was also relevant 7 years ago or whenever I started TLA, throw loops. In a game for beginners where they don't know what's happening, let's not make the unblockable thing loopable. Now granted, characters are allowed to break rules with their special mechanics. So Pork gets to break the rule, and Garlic gets to kind of break the rule. But as a general rule, no throw loops. And at the time, I figured the way to solve that problem is to throw backward. It also had interesting implications in terms of giving up corner and that kind of stuff, or potentially reversing into corner. But it was designed as, here's a simple thing. This way we don't even have to do backwards and forward throws. That was a pure like economy of animation choice. And we removed throw loops because you throw backwards. And we forced that. That was always intentional. And my goal was that the throw damage, which I believe is 200, so 1/5 of your life bar, is enough to be threatening, but not so much that the game ends in 3 throws. And this is still in a game where some characters better than other can represent chip damage. Because we tried a version really early on, week 2 of TLA development. I was starting from my first principles. I was inspired how Fancy Strike stripped a bunch of stuff out of Street Fighter 2 and still had a fighting game. So I was like, okay, let's start from first principles. We have 2 characters. They move left, right. They have light and heavy. And that's the entire game. And it didn't have jump. And then I discovered very quickly that playing footsies wasn't as fun to me because I'm a fraud who likes to jump. So I had to jump. And then I was like, okay, what if we don't have throws? So every attack just does a lot of chip damage, and you can chip them to death. Because there has to be a paper for the rock that is blocking, right? And the rock, paper, scissors. So if you decide to turtle up, you will eventually be whittled down. And we discovered very quickly that if I got a good enough life lead on you, then I could just turtle for the rest of the game. And you just couldn't chip me fast enough. That was not fun. And that forced me to add throws. And at the time, I was like, no throw loops, throw backwards. And then we just stuck with it. And there's a world where maybe we bump the damage to 250 if it doesn't feel sufficiently threatening. But that is all the intentional design of the game. And it definitely has downsides. But that is one of those like big picture design choices that I made that is kind of intrinsic to the beast and would require big development work or big design changes to accomplish similar goals or not completely betray one of the core design principles. Someone said to have meter gain on throw. Oh, so that would be an argument that throws are too strong? Because yeah, throws give you a bunch of meter as well, right? As a way to incentivize throws. So I'm giving up the corner, but hey, I just got a bar. Against Noodle in corner, it's always correct to just take the throw. Joe responding to my long tirade about hustle culture and the Protestant work ethic. Shiggy says, when I was at Genesis, my dev friend instantly could tell how much QOL, quality of life, there was in Scramble Heart City. They said, the fact you were playing for 20 minutes and had no complaints is a good sign. Use your platform for good, bro. Thank you, Shiggy. I'm very glad to hear that. Again, I cannot tell you how much fun the first 6 months of Scramble Heart development was, when I was laying out the core fighting engine, and I'm like, I get to learn from so many mistakes. I made so many mistakes in Tough Love Arena, but now they're valuable because I learned from them. If I had never made another game, they would have just been mistakes. But now I can harness them to make something better. That was so exciting. Joro says, in response to like lore about, based off the characters I mentioned, it's hella fantasy focused at the moment. Yes, it's more fantasy leaning. There's the Rosie Alistair Gain Tyrant world, and there's the Harmony Goth book world. And Tyrant is, and there are relationships across the gap, but Tyrant is the one sort of, I guess, effectively driving the plot. Makes them interact more. Kerbo asks, hey Paul, Techable strikes when? I have no idea what you're talking about. Joro says, carbs both kind of break the rule. System-wise, they 5HHRC in the mix. But even doing 5H means, like, there's an opportunity for you to reversal, right? Especially in a game where all of our reversals lose to throw. Like, I think specifically, like, that loop is more discouraging. But that's an interesting point if it's giving you a bar and the RC is free. You feel so clean, Paul. Def something to be proud of. Thanks, Shiggy. Thought of a question, which was, how was your day? My day was good. I had the aforementioned meetings. Some of them were nice. Some of them were productive. Some of them were fun. Got to listen to the first draft of music for Tyrant's stage, and it made me laugh in a good way. Everything makes me laugh. It made me happy. Took a break and watched a bunch of StarCraft 2. I don't know why that's suddenly on my mind again, but that was fun. And the only thing I've eaten all day is a sandwich. So this stream is going to end, and then I'm going to get food, and then I'm going to come back and hopefully, dear God, summon the will to finish my taxes. And if I can do that, it will have been a good day. And then I might play a little 2XKO. I started playing 2XKO 2 days ago. Monday night, I stayed up until... both days, I think I started playing around midnight. Not a good start. Monday night, I think I stayed up until 4, and Tuesday night I stayed up until 3, which, in my defense, I am jet lagged. And Monday was largely just playing the game for the first time since the Alpha Lab, doing basic tutorials, I did all the combo trials for Darius. I'm officially an expert. And then just labbing stuff for a while. I think I played a few games as Juggernaut and felt so bad not having a second character. Or no, I did Sidekick. And then last night, I spent an hour learning Ari, and then played casual Khieu, was doing great. I think I had a 9-game win streak. Then finally unlocked ranked, got dumpstered in my placement matches, and now I'm officially Silver League. So I think I'll try and climb out of that hole. I don't know how much time I'll put into it. Any game that I don't have like a local or really active like friend group sustaining, I won't play for long, but for now it's really interesting just to like lab and explore. And especially after my conversation with Pat and hearing some of his design priorities and some of the things he tried to accomplish to varying degrees of success as a designer on 2XKO, being able to really interact with those directly and see his point of view has been valuable. That was my day. Giant asks, are you down for topical jokes? When you say topical, I think of what's current, what's the news, and all of it's bad, so I'm going to say no. But thanks for asking. Jiggy asks, hey Paul, want to play co-op Slay the Spire 2? In the future. A gracious invitation, but probably not. I never played Slay the Spire 1, although everyone I've ever met who's played it has told me I'd like it. But with my limited leisurely video game time, now that I have a working TV again, and when I say that, I mean I finally got all the furniture out of the way so I can resume using my projector. The whole back wall behind me is my television. That's what I've been playing 2XKO on. Now that I have a television again, for the first time since October, I really want to play other people's fighting games. I feel like such an outsider in this scene because I've been so heads down on my own thing. And I want to see what other people are doing and enjoy playing fighting games. So that is taking up, hopefully, my video game time. Giant Impact says, Paul, seek nourishment. What are you talking about? I've got my zero sugar crushed orange soda. It's been nourishing me this whole call. Now it's empty. Thought says, got Grandmaster closed beta and nope out of the game. 2XKO. Joro saying, I'm praying 2XKO keeps getting supported. Me too. Jiggy says, I play Warwick Blitz. We should play at some point. I'd definitely be down to... I'm assuming we can duo over the internet. I would definitely be down to duo sometime. or just fight each other. Thought says, I'm a hit stun deterioration hater, but it is based off the clock, so I have to keep it in mind. That was very wild to learn, which is that 2x Khieu's hit stun deterioration is also influenced by just literal game time. So the same combo with the same hits, but with slightly different delayed timings in it, could fall out. I will say what really turned me off doing the combo trials was any combo that involved charge heavy. Those were the only ones I struggled with. I didn't finish the expert combos for RE, but I soldiered through them with Darius. But any like the air juggles where you had to juggle into charged heavy, my brain just could not do. You're not going to like RE. No, it's okay, Joro. I'll just play a worse one. I literally just picked her for the assist and because I don't want to commit to buying any of the other characters right now. I thought I would like Alawi, but I spent like 5 seconds with her and she was more complicated than I thought she would be. And I'm not starting that way. I'm starting dumb simple. I'm a Ryu enjoyer. So I think I would like to, if I had infinite money to spend on the game, this is the whole free-to-play mindset is weird because I would totally spend $60 on this game. But if I were to spend my ticket today, it would probably be either to buy Blitzcrank or Vi. I always forget how to pronounce her name. I got fucked up by some Vi's in a fun way. Joro says Blaze Blue Gold Throw. That's... Blaze Blue has purple throws, which is throwing someone who's in hit stun, and 2 purple exclamation points appear, and it has twice the tech time. And I know that because when I played Blaze Blue, that was all of my combos. It was just like launcher into purple throw, because throws do a lot of damage mid-combo because they're escapable. And I would just do that all the time and reaction test my college friends, because none of us knew how to play fighting games. They would take offense to that. But we were all pretty new at the time. Dude, there was one... Oh, God. I must have talked about this during the state of the game, during the Q&A. Sometime last summer, I got really into Fire Emblem again. And there was definitely like a week where I got no work done because I was just replaying Fire Emblem Three Houses for the 7th time. That is actually one of my favorite things about fighting games. You give me a single-player game, you give me Tears of the Kingdom, I will play it for 12 hours and forget to eat and cause irreparable damage to my old body. But I can't play a fighting game for more than 3 hours without just getting exhausted. So it has a nice self-limiting thing. It's literally why I got into fighting games as an 09er. It was sophomore year of college. I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and it was just deleting my free time. I would just, every day after class, go back to my dorm room, and just 4 hours would evaporate. And I was having fun, but I wasn't doing my schoolwork, or I would then stay up late cramming, and I wasn't living a life. And then I try Super Street Fighter 4, and I play it for 1 hour, and by the end of that hour, I'm so tilted I stop playing, and then I hang out with my roommates, and I get my schoolwork done on time, and I made the calculated choice to stop playing shooters on that day and to switch to fighting games because they had more room in my life. I don't know if this is a universal experience for people, but I flirted with, I think it was Battlefield 6 back in 2015 because one of my roommates was playing it back when I had a bunch of roommates in Manhattan. And sure enough, I fell down that hole. I could spend like 8 hours just running around an empty field trying to get into a tank or whatever was happening in that game. And then had to cut myself off after like 2 weeks. Thought says, oh yeah, I unlocked everyone in closed and have to do it again in the open. Wait. Thought, when you say I unlocked everyone in the closed beta, do you mean like you paid for them and that didn't transfer? Or was it like a progress thing? Okay, you just grinded. You grinded really long. Got it. During my 6-hour fights, I was rewatching this video by the YouTuber Why about multiverses. This is before multiverses died, but it was a pretty critical 2-hour video about multiverses, highlighting some of its many challenges. What an interesting game. And I think that was one of the controversies, is people bought stuff in that year-long beta, and then the game goes away, and then it comes back, and some of the stuff didn't transfer. That's a nightmare. Joe said, you did mention the Fire Emblem 3 from years ago. Yeah, no, the original, Amy introduced me to this game. I think I did 3 or 4 playthroughs up front, took a break, came back and beat it like one or 2 more times. This would have been maybe like spring 2022. So I would have talked about it in a state of the game back then, because it was impacting TLA development. I think the first outing was before TLA released. And then I fell back in. I remember 2 months ago promising that I would do a development stream just talking about Fire Emblem. And then my mind actually, like, the next day, I had shower thoughts, and I planned out like this whole spreadsheet slideshow I was gonna make, and how I would frame, in my opinion, like what makes a good unit. And I had this whole like like this whole framework of mapping it out, and it was a lot of work, and then I didn't do it. Again, if anyone's interested, just DM me, bother me, and I will do a stream and I'll ad-lib this, and maybe it'll be fun, and maybe we'll upload it. I don't know. It could be fun just to do for the sake of doing it. If people want to listen to me word salad about that game, I gotta shut up. Shiggy says, I switched off of Titanfall 2 for that. Joro says, for me, fighting games are exhausting, but they drain my time because there's so much for me to learn. That's true. This was, that initial decision to drop Modern Warfare for Street Fighter 4 was before I labbed at all. And I was just throwing myself into ranked and being slaughtered. I could definitely spend a lot of time labbing. So it can be a meaningful time sink, a dangerous time sink to that degree, but it's not the same as checking a million quest boxes. Mystical asks, hey, did you go to GDC? Yes, I actually spoke about it a lot over the stream. Catch the VOD when it goes on YouTube. But it was a lot of fun. I had a good time. I got to see some old friends. I got to meet some cool new people, some new indie fighting game devs, catch up with other indie game fighting game devs, and it was restful. I had a good time. One day that stream will happen. I just need peer pressure. I'm very susceptible to peer pressure. If you couldn't tell from all the horrible balance adjustments I've made over the years just because people yelled at me enough, you know how to manipulate me. Just peer pressure. Joro says, my friends tell me whenever fighting games are involved that I have way, way, way more energy. Like I become a way more sociable person when we're on fighting games. That's fair. I think I can also be that way in like a new group of people. Oh, stuff for the best unit. It's in my head. Units can be broken down into... I'm not getting baited. Not tonight. I still haven't eaten dinner. So on that note, we shall wrap things up. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for playing my game. Thank you for listening to all my dumb stories, regardless of how related they are to the topic at hand. This is always very fun. I like doing dev streams, but they're so much more work focused. And I don't have much time to have these sorts of conversations with chat. And I really like this chat, you know, the TLA community, as Kerbo described it. And I really cherish getting to do this every month. And I'm glad that I've also kind of turned the Scramble Heart like survey stream into that as well. I definitely mentioned this before. My intention is that once Tough Love Arena gets fully released, we'll probably do one more state of the game, and then that will be it. I will wind down this monthly tradition that I started in, I think, May 2021. Because my intention is at that point, I am ramping up the same stream, but for the new game. Under a different name and definitely under a different format. For now, that might just be around the surveys. So this will always be the TLA State of the Game stream for however many months we have left. Until then, I was your host, Paul. Thank you so much for playing my games, and I will see you all next month.